This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the current state of WWE. It is time to talk about what the heck is going on in WWE as we approach WrestleMania season with the Royal Rumble just, 5 weeks away or so. And we've got a lot to cover tonight as we're going to talk about the top two titles in the men's divisions, that being the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE Undisputed Championship that is around the waist of Roman Reigns, of course. So we're going to talk about those two things. And Anthony, how you doing, man? You ready for this one?
Yeah, man. Looking forward to diving into this because entering WrestleMania season, it sure as hell seems that there are a ton of options to go down with both of these titles following WrestleMania.
Yeah, there really are. And this WrestleMania season, as we've outlined so many times, has so many different possibilities. I know you've given your predictions as far as what you think the card could be for WrestleMania 40. And, so that said, I haven't really given a ton of my thoughts. Maybe yours have changed, but when it comes to the top two titles, as you've said, the options are pretty vast. And when you look at the world title, I guess we'll start there because we always talk about Roman. We'll get to him in the second half of the show. When you look at the world title, it's been around the waist of Seth Rollins since May of this year. And that's a significant run, all things considered. If you didn't compare it to Roman, I think we'd say that's a pretty long run. And I think it's been generally successful. But now you have a heel Drew McIntyre, who I think is at the forefront of contenders to take that belt away from Seth Rollins. So when we look to the Rumble, how do you think things are going to shape out? And if you want to project it out to WrestleMania, go ahead.
Well, I do think that we are going to see a different world champion go into WrestleMania. And I think both you and I are in lockstep that guy will probably and should be Drew McIntyre. If he doesn't win the world title between now and Royal Rumble, I will be very surprised. If that comes, as you've alluded to, in maybe a triple threat match, maybe a fatal four-way match of some sort. But I feel like Drew is the guy to go into WrestleMania season as the world heavyweight champion. Now, I know a lot of people have already written it in stone that will be Seth Rollins or CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. I want to see that match. But I just don't think that the world title is necessary there. I actually think that it would detract from what that rivalry means and the personal blood feud that really is going on between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. So I would want Drew McIntyre going in as the World Heavyweight Champion. And I've said this ad nauseum now, but I think that LA Knight should win the Royal Rumble and cross over to Monday Night Raw and get into that World Heavyweight Championship picture. Because I don't think that him dethroning Roman Reigns is in the cards. And at this point, it feels like he's kind of done all he can do on SmackDown. So for me, going into WrestleMania, it's a Drew versus LA Knight for the World Heavyweight Championship.
That's a pretty solid bet. And I know that, as you just said, a lot of people are looking at CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for the title. I also prescribe to that. I don't think it really would be a good thing to put the title match or the title in that match with Punk and Rollins, just like we don't think The Rock and Roman Reigns should have the title, but that match we don't think is going to happen this year. Or probably ever if it doesn't this year. So
yeah, or ever.
Yeah, really. At this point, it's or ever. So when we look at Punk and Seth, yeah, they've got a lot that they can pull from. They've got so much that they can talk about. They've already had a really fun interaction last week. This week, I guess Punk is not on Raw. I haven't seen anything on Raw, but I guess Punk isn't there. And so we look forward to this Punk and Rollins program, but it's not about the belt with them. Even though Punk said, this is my goal, to win the Royal Rumble and to main event WrestleMania. He said that, but I don't think it'll happen. I think these two will have some kind of interaction at the Rumble, or Punk just gets eliminated and then he doesn't know what to do with the rest of his WrestleMania path, and Seth Rollins enters stage left. So that I think that they could have a massive interaction at the Royal Rumble itself. One of them costs the other one the championship, I guess, or I'm sorry, maybe Punk costs accidentally Seth the championship, or maybe just Drew outright wins, and I think that should be the case. But my question to you is, if they do the Punk and Rollins match at WrestleMania. No title. Who is the babyface and heel in that? Do you think that Seth Rollins is the guy that turns heel, or do they just leave it be and have the fans kind of decide who they're going to cheer for?
I would just leave it up to the fans, honestly, because it feels like CM Punk hasn't really decided whether or not he's a babyface or a heel either. I guess he's just by default a babyface. But Seth Rollins was kind of someone who organically turned into a babyface maybe 14 months ago-ish. So I just think that for a match of this magnitude, you just gotta let them just be themselves and let the fans decide. You don't always have to have a baby face and a heel. Like, it is a good thing more times than not. But I think that in this particular scenario, you don't have to do it. It was kind of like, I know at the end of the match, Austin turned heel. But like going into WrestleMania 17, there wasn't a set babyface or a heel. It was just babyface of Austin Rock, or even HBK versus John Cena at WrestleMania 23. So I don't think that this is a match that necessarily needs to have a set babyface and a set heel, or even Rock versus Cena at WrestleMania 28. There's plenty of examples here, and I just think that this is one of those rare scenarios where there can be a bit of ambiguity.
And I think there will be, but I will say that given Punk is kind of the fresh new toy, that's a shiny new toy again, and I think a lot of people will be excited for him to main event WrestleMania, or at least semi-main evented. I think that they're going to be a lot more support for Punk than Rollins. That could change over the next few months with their promos and how they go about this. But I think that if you were going to do it tomorrow, that CM Punk would probably get the majority of support in that match. But I would agree. I wouldn't turn either of them heel. Hell, CM Punk is printing money right now in his merchandise sales. He is like setting records with his merchandise sales. And so I wouldn't touch him when it comes to turning heel. There's no reason to. And Seth Rollins on his own right is doing really well as a babyface too. And I don't think that turning him heel would be a good long-term decision. I think he's on a roll right now as a babyface. So sure, let the crowd cheer, and it'll be dueling chants and it'll be fun. And the promos really are what's going to sell this match. The match quality will be really good. But back to the world title. I'm trying to stay on track already. When we have LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre, as I'm going to prescribe to that too, does LA Knight finally have his crowning moment at WrestleMania, or do they dare in an LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre matchup? Do they dare have Drew McIntyre retain? I know it's an early call, but do you think LA Knight is going to be crowned and having his crowning achievement at WrestleMania 40?
I think so. As long as the fans stay behind him, I don't see why not. Like, look, do I think LA Knight is going to be a mainstay in the main event, like, consistently year over year, pay-per-view to pay-per-view? Probably not. But he should at least have one world championship run onto his resume because of how much of a breakout star he was in 2023. And all kind of like the history he had with Bray Wyatt, the only real program Bray had upon his return. I just think that there's so much storytelling that you could do there. And if I'm not mistaken, Drew and LA Knight have a history going back to Impact. So I really do believe that LA Knight is the guy to walk out of WrestleMania 40 as the World Heavyweight Champion. Now, do I think that he should have a Seth Rollins type of run with the title? No. And I think that in short order, you can maybe dethrone him with a cash-in from Damian Priest, who in my mind will be the next guy to kind of take that World Heavyweight Championship, probably from sometime in the early next summer, maybe right up until WrestleMania season next year. So I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but I don't think LA Knight's title run will be that long, but I think the pop will be worth at WrestleMania 40. I think that it will give Drew a nice 2-month, slightly over 2-month run as the world champion, and then that will just kind of lead into Damian Priest.
Yeah, that's true too. Mr. Wildcard over there, send your money in the bank. We have yet to have him cash in. He's had it for I feel like 6 months. It's been a while. So there is that looming factor. So I think that you have a guy in LA Knight that should be at WrestleMania 40 winning the belt in front of fans, which is what the fans want to see. They're on a long-term story with LA Knight. But if I was LA Knight, I'd be a bit kind of I don't know if concern's the word, but just I'd feel a bit threatened by the returns of Punk and Orton, because all of the focus that was on LA Knight, because he was the one guy that was on the rise. He was the guy that was truly the fastest rising star in WWE. That was true. And then you have Punk come back. You have Orton come back. And I mean, it's just like, I would feel like, man, it takes some of the wind out of my sails. The fans have stuck with him, and the fans continue to cheer for him when he's opposing the bloodline. But it feels like he's been kind of maintaining his momentum. There hasn't been a massive spike. Of course, now he's being thrown into AJ Styles, which is kind of a weird side story. I'm not against it. It's just, I don't think anybody saw that coming with AJ Styles. I don't know if you did.
Well, I think that it's something that I think it's something that they did for, pardon me, LA Knight, to give him something significant to do aside from the bloodline, because how many times are we going to see him just run out and start attacking Jimmy Uso or Solo Sikoa? Like, it was starting to get a bit redundant, even with Randy Orton's involvement. Like, how long could you string out that alliance, that very temporary alliance between Randy and LA Knight? So I think that they have a returning star in AJ Styles, and aside from Randy and Roman on SmackDown right now, he's probably the biggest star you have. And that is the most relevant program that you could have LA Knight in right now. Like, if you made him go feud with Karrion Kross or even a Bobby Lashley, based on how they've booked Bobby since the draft, would it feel as important? Or if you feuded with like Santos Escobar? But because of the history of AJ Styles in WWE and just his overall track record, and I don't know if they cross paths in Impact at all, I think that it just instantly makes LA Knight feel important. And with Roman Reigns inevitably just going back on the sideline for at least a few weeks, or at least in the new year, I would imagine, aside from Randy probably toying with the bloodline week to week, even with Roman not there, AJ versus LA Knight, especially with Logan Paul not there with the US title week to week, LA Knight versus AJ Styles will probably be the most important program.
No question about it. LA Knight and AJ Styles match quality is going to be just fine, and in fact really good. I'm excited to see, especially given all the memes that I'm seeing are pretty hilarious, by the way, of the fact that Randy Orton leaves, comes back absolutely jacked. AJ Styles leaves, comes back, he's absolutely jacked. I don't know what's going on there. I'm not trying to insinuate anything, okay, but it just is a bit it's a bit, I don't know if suspicious is the right word, but it's something noteworthy that you see these two guys who have never really been known for being jacked come back, and they put on like 20 pounds of muscle. I don't know what to say about it, but AJ Styles right now, I think it's a good thing for his career, because he's really good at both. I think AJ Styles, usually there's one that's better than the other. AJ Styles, for me, is split down the middle in terms of how good he is as a heel or a babyface. We've seen both. I like both a lot. And AJ Styles, to be honest with you, has been underutilized over the last couple of years in my mind for what they can have him do. Now, he's surely set up to help LA Knight move forward. AJ Styles is not in that position right now, but they can, I think, have a match of the night candidate, just on paper anyway. So I'm looking forward to that. Now, switching to the other side of things, we have, of course, Roman Reigns, as you mentioned there, and he's probably going to take a few weeks off, as he normally does, at least. And when we look at this, it's all roads, pun intended, lead from Cody to Roman at WrestleMania Part 2. And I think that's still going to be the case. I'm not even considering The Rock right now. To me, The Rock is a non-factor until I hear otherwise. But to me, you could even have Cody Rhodes win the Rumble. They made a big point about the fact that Cody Rhodes could be a back-to-back winner, and there's only been, I think, 3 back-to-back winners in WWE history. They made a very kind of subtle point on SmackDown last week, or Raw last week rather, and they made it that to tell us how many people and who they were that won back-to-back Rumbles. I don't think that's by accident, because I think that's to remind you of how rare it is for someone to do it, which means, guess what? I think Cody Rhodes is going to be the one to do it and to face Roman Reigns winning the Rumble at WrestleMania. And I also think you could still have LA Knight do it, because guess what? We have the Chamber, and the Chamber is probably going to determine who faces a supposed Drew McIntyre for the world title at WrestleMania. So we could have LA Knight certainly get there without winning the Rumble. So as I think about it more, I still think we get to those 2 matches that everyone is seemingly landing on, but it's Cody that wins the Rumble because they want to put that on his resume, and you have LA Knight win the Chamber that gives him the right to face Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania for the world title.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go down a Roman Reigns diatribe here, but his return on SmackDown kind of like it was like reassurance for our discussion last week, where I'm just like, they don't need him anymore. Like at the end of the show, where you had AJ Styles in the ring, Randy Orton there, your AJ Styles just attacked LA Knight, and Roman, who kind of like poetically is standing on the outside of the ring looking in, which he will be probably for the next month. I'm saying, like, between Orton, AJ Styles, LA Knight, and even if you wanted to elevate a guy like Bobby Lashley into the main event scene, they have enough star power on SmackDown that they could probably make the WWE Championship feel as important. Like, between the four guys I just mentioned, you could get a year's worth of storytelling out of with the WWE Championship and just main event matches in general. Like, if you had, just for argument's sake, AJ Styles is the WWE Champion right now, feuding with LA Knight, and then Randy Orton was in a Hold Me Over program with Bobby Lashley, something that we've never really seen. Like, is that a bad SmackDown? And this is not me crapping on Roman Reigns. And if you had a week-to-week Roman Reigns, it would be a completely different story. And I still really like Roman Reigns, both in the ring, on promo, and storytelling. But it just showed me, like, at the final screen grab of AJ Styles on the apron, looking jacked as all hell, Randy Orton in the ring, and LA Knight on the floor. And again, not even including a guy like Bobby Lashley, not even including a guy who obviously hasn't been around in a few months, but like a Sheamus. I was just saying to myself, like, they don't need Roman Reigns anymore. So for the WWE Championship, even as much as I despise Cody Rhodes, I'm praying that Cody Rhodes dethrones him. Now, we've already gone down the road last week of what I would do, have Randy dethrone him. But by WrestleMania time, what has to be is it could be Doink the Clown for all I care, but he cannot be holding that WWE Championship past WrestleMania.
You would think, and then you know that they're going to maybe talk themselves out of it with, well, we didn't get to Punk and Roman yet. But again, you can do all these programs without the belt. I don't think we need Punk in any kind of championship match. I think, and you know what, when I look at Punk's run, if it is a multi-year run, I think he could have a world title run or an undisputed title run that's, 4, 6, 8 months. I don't have any problem with that, but it's getting over this hump that we've been talking about literally for years now with Roman. And our conversation last week that was really centered around WWE not needing Roman. And I don't think, while I'm not amending anything I said, I guess I'll clarify what we were talking about, and from my perspective anyway, because I had people reach out and say, yo, what are you talking about? WWE, Roman Reigns is one of the greatest of all time. What do you mean of course they need him. Well, they need him in the sense that I think it would help match quality, of course, star power. I think ratings will increase when he's on the screen, and that's proven minute by minute if you look at the ratings. But I think clarification is that they don't need his run anymore. And honestly, even if Roman Reigns has disappeared, they'd be fine. They did it without Stone Cold Steve Austin, who just stopped wrestling after WrestleMania 17. They did it with The Rock. They've done it with John Cena. The machine goes on. There's nobody that if they just stopped wrestling tomorrow, WWE would say, oh man, we need you. We're not going to be able to survive without you. I think that there's nobody that exists, no matter how big of a name you are. But I think that what I'd like to clarify is that the title run is no longer needed. It has not been needed for quite some time. And I would agree. I think Cody Rhodes, as much as I am with you, I despise everything he stands for as a babyface. I am rooting for him simply for the fact of giving another guy an opportunity to have the belt and stop talking about a championship that's so important yet never here. And I think that, Cody Rhodes should be the one to do it. I think he's going to win the Rumble to give him that second victory back to back. And then you have Cody and Roman. And now, to your point, though, final point before I pass it back to you, is Randy Orton could still win at the Royal Rumble. I know I keep overlooking him as a guy that's, he's past his prime, but you were right last week. He is still he looks like he hasn't missed a step. He is 40 some years old, but he looks better than ever. There's still a good chance, given the story with Cody and Randy, that we have a Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes match at WrestleMania. I don't think that's going to happen, only because I think Randy Orton may screw Cody in the main event of WrestleMania. That's another conversation for another day. We're getting 4 steps ahead. But to me, I think that, I'm with you. Cody Rhodes, as much as I hate him, I don't care. Just get it off of him. As you said, Doink the Clown. It could be, I put it on Twitter. It could be Mordecai. It could be the Gobbledygooker. It could be, I don't even care. It could be Zach Gowen. I don't care who it is. So.
Well, I think either way, we're just at a point now where, and look, and I'm talking objectively here because everyone knows the way you and I feel about Cody Rhodes, is that he should walk out of WrestleMania 40 as champion, because as much as I don't like his character, Cody Rhodes, the guy, seems like a hell of a dude and someone who's committed to WWE day in and day out. And I do think that finishing his story would make a hell of a lot more sense if it came against Randy Orton, because of all of their history and, no pun intended, their legacy with one another. And I think that would actually make me cheer for Cody Rhodes as a wrestler to hold the champion, as opposed to just cheering for anyone not named Roman Reigns. So, I mean, like, remember that whole story where, like, Bray Wyatt against Roman Reigns, I think it was in 2015, and it was anybody but you? That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at right now. It's anyone but Roman. And like I said, like, don't like Cody Rhodes. Like, I just don't care anymore. And it's because it's gotten to a point now with that championship and his title run that it's the law of diminishing returns. Like, they've gone so long now that the guy who dethrones him doesn't matter. It would have made sense against Drew at Clash of the Castle. It would have made sense against Sami at Elimination Chamber. Would have made sense against Cody last year at WrestleMania. Would have made sense against Jay. And now you've just so far past it. Like, for me, ever since the whole Civil War stuff, I just don't care anymore. And usually I always got hung up on Bloodline stuff when they were on TV. This week, I didn't care. I was just waiting for Randy Orton to come out. So it's unfortunate that they've taken a brilliant story and they've just pushed it so far. And I do think that a babyface version of the Bloodline could be very interesting. But in this current version, I think it's just run its course.
That's all it is. There's nothing slighting. I'm not trying to bash the storyline in terms of it wasn't successful. Everyone acknowledges that it was one of the most successful storylines that WWE has ever created in its history. I'm not overstating that. It really was that good. And it carried SmackDown for a number of, years almost, especially when the Sami and Jay and all the dynamics that went into it and how emotionally invested we all were. That was a lot of fun. And it's just the natural progression of things. It has just come to a close. It's just time to move on. There's nothing left to do with this story. And you're right about this week. This, to me, was the first week that it felt like fans didn't give a damn. Like, and I don't know if it's me personally feeling this way for the first time, but the whole allure of him not being there and when he's there is more special is gone. For me, it's been gone. But for me, also, when he comes back after being gone for so long, typically there's a big babyface reaction for him. And he has to almost turn heel every time he gets on the mic. This time, the crowd was just like, I felt like they were booing at the storyline. They're booing at the fact that he's still champion. They're not really booing the character. We all know how good it is. But for the first time, to me, I agree. I was just like, I don't care who the heir to the tribal chief is. I don't care about Jimmy feeling slighted by Solo being named, second in command, basically. I don't care about that anymore. None of that interested in me. And it's just like they're running it back again and again. Jimmy's never been less interesting to me. Solo, you're waiting for him to snap on Roman. And they've squeezed everything out of it. And that's just all it is. It's just time to move on.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with them just having to move on. But look at some of the other factions that have, lasted less than 2 years. The Shield, Evolution, like DX came and went, but the original version was a little over a year. Like, it just happens, and it doesn't mean that this was a failure. It's just like, it's like you said, like, do I care? Like, I actually kind of feel bad for Jimmy Uso right now, because he's kind of relevant just by being associated with the bloodline. But it's like, I feel like if he actually detached from the bloodline, kind of like what his brother Jay is doing, he would actually have a chance to kind of blaze his own trail. And even Solo Sikoa, like, I'm not gonna lie, I know they're trying to push him to like all hell, but like, I'm just kind of over the perpetual scowling thing, and like, I don't know, like, I just need more depth than he's the pissed off like enforcer of the bloodline. Like, that, the entire thing to me just feels very stale. And it sucks because they're all individually great wrestlers, great performers, great at what they do. They own their character. Roman's great on the mic, but it's just this version of themselves. It's run its course, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not me crapping all over. It doesn't discredit anything they did since, the summer of 2020. But we're 3.5 years later. It's just time to try something new, and that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not. And I don't want them to continue to do this and run it back again and again because they think it's a formula that worked really well in the past and it's going to continue to work. And then all of a sudden, when fans look back, they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth thinking about this storyline. I'm not there yet because I still have very fond memories of how just amazing the storytelling was, the acting. I think it peaked to me in Montreal last year. That was, to me, the absolute crescendo for me. But when I look at this, I think that this storyline needs a major kick in the ass. That's all it needs. It needs some major shift. I don't know to me, the shift is Roman loses the belt. But if that's not going to be the shift, then I don't know what it is. And maybe Solo turns on Roman. Do you have an idea of what they could do if Roman doesn't drop the belt? How they could kind of revive the bloodline story? Or maybe they just completely disband. I don't know. Maybe you have to go that extreme, but it just feels like they're spinning their hamster wheel. And I feel like they just need just a kick right in the ass. I don't know how else to put it.
Again, it sucks to say, but it's gotten to a point where I don't care. Like, I don't care how they disband. Like, I always, like, if you asked me 2 years ago, or even a year ago when Sami Zayn really breathed new life into this story, I would have been saying, I'm looking forward to who dethrones him for it, how the bloodline falls apart. But, like, I feel like we've seen the bloodline fall apart, like, 70 times. Like, at Clash at what was it? The Saudi Arabia event, what was it? Night of Champions? Yeah. Clash of Champions, whatever they call it now. When the Usos turned on Roman, that to me was like the big, cratering of the bloodline. And then we saw the Civil War match at Money in the Bank overseas. I think it was in the United Kingdom or wherever. Like, I got my fix of that. And as far as the WWE title goes and how that will change hands, I could name you off the top of my head 2 times that I would have wanted them to drop the title. 2 perfect opportunities against Drew at Clash of the Castle and Sami at Elimination Chamber. And both times they decided to go in a separate direction. I don't think you could recreate either of those opportunities in their respective hometowns and what that title victory would have meant to either Drew or Sami Zayn. So I'm just at a point where I don't care about how the bloodline falls apart because we've already kind of seen it less than a year ago. And the other thing is that I really don't care who drops the title because they've had 2 missed opportunities.
It's such a shame, because we were at a point. I mean, the WWE fans, I think, were at a point where they were so invested in who could beat them. Oh my God, that'd be so great if this person, that person did. It could catapult them. And then a lot of this anger and frustration had to do with his schedule, which we have gone over chapter and verse of how just egregious it is and how frustrating it is. And we're being sold a bill of goods that it's special. And it's like, yeah, no, that stopped like a year ago. So that to me is the most frustrating part, is his schedule. That is one of the worst parts about this. And when you look at, as you mentioned, all these perfect opportunities that have presented themselves, you're not going to be able to duplicate that. Those are gone. They're forever gone in WWE history. You're not going to be able to get that kind of perfect alignment of stars, particularly with Sami, which we keep harping back on. But I haven't changed, honestly, an inch since Elimination Chamber. Typically, I'll kind of soften to the idea of, oh, maybe it was a good idea. This is like one decision that I look back and I'm like, this still makes no sense at all. kind of like the Brock Lesnar being Undertaker's streak. So like, it doesn't make any sense. There's certain things that you look back on, you're just like, nope, I feel the same way I did when I saw it. It doesn't make any sense. But I think when you look back, WWE said, guys, we need to look at the bigger picture. If Cody's going to finish his story, we got to have Roman as champion until next year. So if all of this is to have effing Cody Rhodes finish his story, I mean, we'll never know. It's just a speculative assumption, of course, but I'm just trying to think of, you have a perfect opportunity here and there, and they don't pull the trigger. It's like, well, what are they planning? And honestly, whatever it is, it's never going to be as good as what they could have had. You cannot go back. You cannot recreate that moment. And so to me, whenever Roman does drop the belt, it's going to be a disappointment from the perspective of how high our expectations were and how perfect the moments were. So there's not going to be at a moment where we're like, wow, that was awesome. It's not, because those moments have passed them by.
And that's something that they're going to have to live with, right? And what's more important, getting a moment in Montreal like Sami Zayn winning his first ever world title, or making Roman Reigns a custom-made jumpsuit with the number 1000 on it? I don't know. It's up to them. Like, I don't know what's more important, but I guess the jumpsuit is what they really wanted. And the more I think about it, it's just like, who gives a damn about 1,000 days? Like, what does it mean, really? Like, I don't know. It's yeah, I guess. And they're going to make documentaries about it. And aren't they already filming him behind the scenes?
I saw. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. Yep.
So there you go. And you know what the thing is that I don't want to diminish what the title reign was up until last year at Elimination Chamber. Like, the first 2.5 years, maybe save for a little blip following WrestleMania 38 and the summer of 2022. It was brilliant. It brought them through the COVID era. It brought them through 2021. For most of 2022 with Sami Zayn's involvement, it was absolutely brilliant in the early days of Triple H taking over as head of creative. But now it's just, you've blown so many opportunities to the point where some fans don't give a damn anymore. And I mean, maybe we're still in the minority here. And this is not to say that Roman Reigns has no value, but I think he's even around less than Brock was when Brock was taking all that flack for being an absentee champion. I don't know. It's crazy the level it's gone to, and it's a damn shame that I don't care how it ends anymore.
I don't know how many fans are in our boat. I really am starting to care less and less, as long as it's just Roman not champion anymore. And here's the thing. You're going to be killing two birds with one stone in a good way. You get the belt off of Roman, then that person, whoever it is, can go on to claim they stopped Roman's streak. If it's Cody, whoever, it is still a great thing to have on your resume. But also, you instantly turn Roman Reigns babyface. You could instantly do it. You're going to transform him from a heel that was ultra successful, even more so than all of us fans could have imagined. And since August of 2020, you're going to turn him into this babyface. So he's had this heel run that's been significant, and you're going to instantly turn him back to a babyface that I think fans will be ready to embrace. He's no longer holding a championship hostage. He can come and go as he pleases. Fans aren't going to be pissed off about the fact that he's never here, because then it will feel like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Roman's back. Who's he going to beat up? And, who's he going to face? You could come up with these dream matches that don't involve the title, that it's not a distraction. So you're really going to benefit by doing that on all fronts. But I think they are just too damn locked into this. Every day is a day closer to beating Hulk Hogan's record. And it's infuriating, and it feels like they're doing it only for themselves, because the fans, I generally think, don't give a damn about his record as far as anymore. It's just there's nothing more you could do or add to it that fans would be like, wow, well, now it feels really special. It's over. There's nothing. I don't care if he beats Bruno Sammartino's record. No one cares anymore. I'm sorry. WWE does, so they can say Hulk Hogan's no longer number 3. And I actually think, I mean, this is a prediction out a little bit further here. I do think that Roman Reigns, if WWE is looking at this, they want Roman. They are hell-bent on getting Roman past Hulk Hogan's record. I still think Roman's going to be champion until they beat Hulk Hogan's record. I hate to say it. I don't know how you feel.
The only thing is Triple H. He's the only thing that's making me think that maybe they're going to do something that's best for business. You know, like that clip has been circulating from 5 years ago, the McMahon family promising for change and all that. And like, as much as that was a bunch of malarkey 5 years ago, like the product has gotten noticeably better under Triple H. Just since like Vince was pushed aside by Ari Emanuel, like what was that, 2.5 months ago?
Yeah.
It's been noticeably better. So I'm just thinking that now, you know, Triple H might say, we have all this talent at the ready. We've got him into the top 5 of all time in title reigns. We got him to 1,000 days. Apparently he's taking time off, I think, to film a movie after WrestleMania. I think this is it. I really, really, really do. Just because, like, they got to get a belt on SmackDown. They got to get that. You got to involve some of this other talent. Like, how many more years? Like, as much as we love Orton, as much as we love AJ Styles, as much as we love even LA Knight, they're all in their 40s. They all have, what, 5 years left at this level? Like, make the most of it. Not to mention Cody Rhodes, not to mention Damian Priest, not to mention Bobby Lashley, not to mention Seth Rollins and CM Punk, even though they're on Monday Night Raw with the world title. Like, you don't need Roman. Like, if you want Roman Reigns to play the role of Brock Lesnar, fine. That's cool. Even if you want him to come back and win the title and hold it for another 6 months in a separate babyface run, that's fine. That's cool. But this one, it just needs to end. And this is not me saying I want Roman gone away forever. I think there's an amazing, epic, arguably industry-changing babyface run coming out of Roman Reigns somewhere down the line. But this version, it's run its course, and I think Triple H has, well, I can't say that. I've never spoken to the guy, but he's the one part of me that's making me believe, or the one part of this that's making me believe that they're going to do the right thing and pull the trigger on him dropping the belt.
That is the one thing that does give me hope, because you know damn well if Vince McMahon was still here, it wouldn't even be something anyone brings up. Like, hey, Vince, what do you think about dropping the belt and having Roman drop it? He would just say to the guy, you're fired. Get out the door. I mean, like, you know what Vince would say. It's not even up for debate. So with Triple H, though, if he is truly in charge, and I'll take that at face value, it does give me a little bit more of a positive outlook on possibly having Roman drop the belt. But they are. Here's the thing, too, though. As much as that is a good argument against Roman, or for our Roman dropping the belt, they're looking at this, and I understand this perspective too. They're saying, guys, we're never in our lifetimes going to have a run this long. It is very unlikely. I know Triple H loves his long title runs. I respect that. But this is ultra plus long. It is something that is historic. It literally is. And they're looking at this saying, guys, we have one chance probably in our lifetimes to have Roman Reigns beat Hulk Hogan. We're never going to have someone in our lifetimes that's going to get this close to beating Hulk Hogan's record. And to that, I would agree. And I understand the temptation. But I would also say, at what cost? Like, okay, you have it happen. Say it happens tomorrow. What do you get out of it? Just this big celebration like he did for 1,000? Okay, you move Roman Reigns' face above Hulk Hogan's on the top 5 or top 10 list. Okay, then what? You have then sacrificed another 6 to 8 to 12 months of other guys that could have had an opportunity. So I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I understand the temptation to do it. They want to knock Hulk Hogan down a peg for a guy that is, at this point, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And so do you understand the temptation, though? Like, if you're WWE, you're probably like, oh, but I know fans are pissed, but we're not going to get this opportunity again to be this close to taking down Hulk Hogan's record and being number 3 on the list. But again, what cost?
For me, I don't think there's a debate. Honestly, for me, there is no debate here. There's no debate because I get it, but who even looked at this list before Roman Reigns? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, yeah, I didn't. Okay, I knew Bruno Sammartino held it for like 7 years or whatever it was.
Yep.
Aside from that, I had no idea. Nor did I ever think like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool. Like, I never thought about this ever. Like, before this, the longest title run I remember was Brock holding the Universal title.
Yeah.
That's it. From, I think it was WrestleMania 33 in 2017 until SummerSlam 2018. And that felt long. And it doesn't always have to be, and I get it, it's once in a lifetime, it's special and all that. I'm not taking it away, but it doesn't matter. And they have to know it doesn't matter. He's in the top 5. That's amazing. That's brilliant. That's awesome. Great. Now it doesn't matter anymore. For me, there's no debate.
I'm with you, but I'm trying to think in their shoes what the benefits of this are. Now, again, Hulk Hogan arguably is the biggest name in professional wrestling history. I would argue he's bigger than The Rock in terms of household name, bigger than Stone Cold. That's saying something. Bigger than anybody in terms of just, if you walk someone down the street and said, "Hey, do you know who Hulk Hogan is?" They'd be like, "Oh yeah." Even if they're not a wrestling fan, they know the face, they know the name. It's instant recognition. So to them, having Roman Reigns supersede Hulk Hogan's record and be above that number of days, while it wouldn't make Roman Reigns a bigger household name, in their mind on paper, he's above Hogan. So again, this feels all very self-serving, though, for me. It feels very kind of selfish on WWE's part, because there's nothing they can offer me at the end of this that would say, "Oh, well, that was all worth it. Now I see what they were doing." There's nothing. It's all over. I can't even concoct a crazy fantasy scenario in my mind that would absolve WWE of going this long for Roman Reigns outside of their own interests, which is all this is. It's their own interest to create headlines for Roman Reigns tops Hulk Hogan's all-time, championship run and becomes the number 3. You can see the headlines in the press, and I get it, but is it really all worth this? And my answer is no. But to that end, I'll just kind of close this. My ultimate question to you is, how long do you think they go? When do you think Roman drops this damn thing?
As much as I want it to be at Rumble, I think it's going to be at WrestleMania to Cody Rhodes. It's low-hanging fruit. I would rather them drop it at Rumble to Randy Orton. There's a way better story to tell there, but I think he drops it at WrestleMania to Cody Rhodes. That's what I'm thinking about. What about you?
Yeah, I would second that. It's probably Cody, because they couldn't dare, or they wouldn't dare have Cody lose twice, right? There's just almost no way. The only way around it is if, as I was kind of teasing earlier in the show, that they have Cody, there's Solo and Jimmy are banned from ringside, which is obviously what Cody should do in that match. And then Randy Orton comes down, RKO's, Cody Rhodes, and costs Cody Rhodes the match, and then you're off to a program with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. That's the only way I could see it happen. But I would agree that the smart money is probably on Cody Rhodes winning this match, because I don't think they dare do it twice to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, and as much as I don't like Cody Rhodes, it would be so disrespectful. Again, there's a difference between the character and the guy, and I think the guy has paid his dues, even though I don't.
Agreed. We can still hate the character, but understand the man. We can understand both. We're not totally blind to the fact that this is how he is in real life. Although, when you're really good at being a character, typically there is some truth to your off-air personality translating so well onto camera. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He does seem like a genuine dude, albeit full of himself, and he can't help but show it on camera. That we've gone over many times, but. All right. Any final wrap up thoughts on WrestleMania, Rumble, or anything?
All I would say is that they have so many options at their disposal that I hope that they don't keep beating their head against the Roman Reigns wall. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm with you. That wall needs to be broken down. So, all righty. Well, we'll end it here. Thank you for joining me as always. And don't forget, guys, go to patreon.com/WWE podcast to get yourself on the NXT Plus or higher. And you can get Anthony's show that's dropped every week for the After Dark show, a non-PG adult version of the show. And what topic did you do this past week? Remind everybody.
I spoke about CM Punk's return mainly, and why he'd made this return. Was it? And what I landed on was to just write his own legacy, and not to rip a page out Cody Rhodes' book, but finish his own story. And I know everyone's doing a lot of finishing stories lately.
Yeah.
But I think on a personal level, CM Punk really just wanted to kind of rewrite history in a way. And I think he was very humbled about what went down in AEW. So, Probably had to eat a bit of a karma sandwich there, but I think it all worked out for the best.
Well, very good. And I encourage everyone to go check that out. It's only on Patreon. It's not going to be available on the Apple Podcast feed or on the website. So go check it out on Patreon. You'll be glad you did. It's not a show for the kids and the wives, but a show that I'm sure that you'd enjoy. And thanks so much for joining me, man. And we'll be chatting in a week.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.